You are listening to the Manhattan Tri Club Leading from the Front podcast. We are based in Manhattan, Illinois, a southwest suburb of Chicago. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at the handle Manhattan Tri Club. We hope you like the show. Welcome back to the Manhattan Tri Club Leading from the Front podcast. We are here back at it again. April. How you doing, April?
Hey, everybody.
Bridget is here with us.
What's up, guys?
I will note that Bridget was early. She beat April on the podcast today.
That's right. That's right.
And we are without Grace. Grace wasn't able to make it tonight. So it's just the three of us. And we got a few things to talk about. We wanted to keep with our schedule and talking about triathlon, so that everybody can enjoy our melodious voices. No, they're not melodious.
Melodious voices. Yeah. Yeah. Chad's all about the schedule, too. Chad has a very strict schedule.
Yeah. We've got some cool news I'm going to let April talk about. But we're, in general, today, we're going to talk about some stuff that's happened over the past recent weeks. Ironman Texas, that happened. There was some tragic events there, but also some really good racing on the pro side we're going to talk about. Related to that, we're going to talk a little bit about swim safety and Ironman, and kind of what at least we read happened. A little bit about nutrition planning for race day, and getting ready, starting to train with nutrition so that you don't have any surprises. And then some Aero gain stuff. There's an interesting article that I shared with the group here that we're going to share with you guys on Slow Twitch. Article written by Sarah Bonner about a triathlete bike fitter, expert rider, Matt Botrel, and really good stuff on the need to stay aero and just what it does for you on race day as far as conserving energy and making you faster, which is what we all want. Everybody wants to go faster, right?
That's right.
Yeah, all gas.
So some cool stuff just dropped. April, what did you do just yesterday with our website?
We made our website live. It is ready for everybody. It is out there in the ether, in the interwebs. Please go check it out. There's some cool stuff on there just about the club and what we do, the events that we have going on. But it also has our promo codes on there for like Lumen or the Rudy project for your helmets and sunglasses. We'll keep updating it with more information, more gear, more promo codes as they come along, but go ahead and check it out. It's a fun place to go check out some triathlon news.
Sweet. Good job.
Very cool. Yeah.
Thanks.
April did a really nice job building out the website and getting some content in there, and we'll continue to add pictures and races and events, try to keep it as current as possible. I've learned a ton about designing websites just from setting this thing up, even though I didn't do much of it, but now I kind of understand how websites go together. So that was a little added benefit for me to get into.
And I've also learned that you do not give Chad access to the production side of the website because then he'll F it up.
That's right.
Wah, wah, wah.
But what I did learn after effing things up, when I thought we completely lost everything that April did, it actually saves backups.
Yeah.
And I went to the day before, so I was able to salvage everything that April had already done. So then I was out of the doghouse.
Good job, April.
Yes, but go check it out. We've got, like I said, some cool stuff. We got links to the Rudy project and really significant promo code that they've partnered with us on. And Lumen also has a promo code, and we'll start adding stuff in there that we like to use and attach some links, whether they give us promo codes or not, because everybody inevitably asks, well, what do you wear for sunglasses? What do you use for race kits? What do you wear?
Yeah.
Goggles, all of it. So
swimsuits, all the things. Yep.
Yeah. So I think that'll be a nice addition to the website once we get things rolling. But yeah, I'm excited. We're in the build phase 2 of Ironman Rockford training.
It's going to be here before you know it.
I know. We're less than 8 weeks away.
I feel like crazy. I could do it next week, though. Like
you totally could. You totally could.
I feel way more prepared than I did last time, and I'm in an active recovery week, and I think I'm going to lose my shit. Like, an off week does not feel good anymore.
No.
So
No.
you got to resist that temptation. I think all triathletes fall into that, and runners too, fall into that same trap that when you get this recovery week, recovery is just as important as the workouts. When you start kind of chapping at the bit you're supposed to have a rest day, and you're like, you know what, I'm going to go for a 45-minute ride, or I'm going to just go do an easy run. And you got to resist, because the plan that you're on is to build endurance, build strength in your muscles, your tendons, your joints, and you got to give all that stuff time to recover too. And the one kind of saving grace that you can get away with on your recovery weeks is some extra swims, because it's lower impact and you do get additional gains from extra swimming, whereas it's more of a corrosive effect if you run additionally when you're not supposed to. So yeah, we're all kind of feeling that same kind of. Today I had an FTP test, and April, you did too, and you're off the bike in under a half an hour, and you're like, shit, I feel like I need to do something else.
Yeah, like
even though it sucks. So I won't share.
Go to a ball game, and your Whoop thinks that you're doing cardio. So I guess that's what you do.
That's right.
Right. But I won't share actual numbers, but I will brag. April increased her FTP by 30 watts, which is really impressive.
Let's go.
So her first FTP was only about a month and a half, 2 months ago. She's been working really hard on the bike. So hats off, April. You're doing an awesome job. Stick with the training.
Thank you. Chad also increased. But I mentioned on the podcast too a couple weeks ago that the indoor triathlon really showed me that my bike was really weak, and like it gave me like bike smarts on what I'm supposed to be pushing, whether it was watts or cadence, and it was just kind of eye-opening. So it's super exciting just to see that the work is paying off, because that's, you got to, awesome. in this long training, you got to have those little wins as you go throughout. Otherwise you're just going to lose your mind. Like, what's it all for?
Yeah. And like I've been saying, going outside now is kind of the benefit. The indoor training, I think there's inherent benefits in indoor training, because it regulates your output. It keeps you at a consistent power output on the structured workouts. And once you get outside, it's a completely different animal, and you have all the different external factors to worry about: handling your bike, making the turns, watching out for gravel, when to brake, wind. We had a really windy ride. Cars. I will say, number one safety device I think for cyclists is the Garmin Varia, the radar. And oh my God, I just got the camera version, and I go back and I watch, roughly when you kind of remember where you had close calls, and we had a close call with a Tesla. The guy buzzed us, and he was literally a foot away from us doing 50 miles an hour. And
with an open lane next to him. Like it wasn't even a tight situation. Yeah. Like he was just being an a-hole.
Yeah. And that's frankly when we needed Bridget there to shoot him for us. But
dude, I'll be with my bum foot. I'll be doing like, I'll be following
you. Moped behind us.
Yes, on the moped.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the Varia, I talked to you guys into getting those for your bikes when you're out on the road, and I stepped it up a bit with the one with the camera, and I went back and I found that Tesla on the camera, and I know exactly his license plate. But you're not going to report somebody just because they got too close.
Close to you.
Yeah.
If something happens, at least you got that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, somebody might need to run you over until something happens, but that's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then, but you got there's a lot of safety devices built into your bike computers and your phone. And April's tried out the alarm on the bike computer a couple times now.
I thought that's what you were going to mention when you were like, the best thing is, when you're.
It wasn't the best thing. I don't want to make that the best thing. It was a funny thing, but it's all happened to all of us. That's why it's funny.
Yeah, it just continues to happen once a ride is the problem. I have a really bad habit of slow rolling and then just tipping because my foot is stuck in my clips. I'm still not used to them being a little bit stiffer. They're different clips than I started riding with, and they're a little bit harder to get my feet out. And if I tip the other way at all, I am going down. And then my
Yep.
bike computer is blaring, my phone's blaring, and it's alerting all my emergency contacts that I have fallen.
I'm
Adam's calling.
okay.
Adam's calling. Are you all right?
Yeah, Bridget and Adam are my emergency contacts. So they're both like, and I'm texting them to let them know I'm okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
But
I
it
think
works.
you're done.
So that's cool.
You're done with the tips. You're done with
I
the
hope
tip
so.
overs. I think we're done with those. So.
Yeah, I hope so. Otherwise, I'm going to start wearing like football pads on my legs. Like, you know, the pads, the pants that have the pads on the side.
Yeah.
I'll wear those.
Yeah. There was a nice bruise after the last one.
Yeah.
You were rocking that at the pool.
Yeah. Yeah. It was
So.
pretty big too. It's gone now, but I was like, people are probably going to think I get beaten.
So, Bridget, all the things you get to look forward to after your surgery.
I can't wait.
Okay.
I can't wait. I'm looking forward to getting the groove with all of you guys.
Yeah, because we got to change your clips to the new clips too.
Yeah. One thing at a time.
So, all right, enough of poking fun. Let's talk a little bit about Ironman Texas. Let's talk about the pros first, because there was a tragic accident at Ironman Texas, and that'll bring kind of the mood down a little bit. But there was some amazing pro races, and I watched the swim portion for the men and women's, and then I kind of caught towards the middle of the run on the men. I didn't see the women finish, but Christian Blumenfeld, again, just a beast. He won it. Martin Van Riel was second place, and Casper Stornes, there's three Norwegians, Christian Blumenfeld, Casper Stornes, and Gustav Iden. They all train together, and they're like this powerhouse, and just really fun to watch. They're just absolutely amazing. Last year on the women, last year's Ironman world champion in Kona was Slovig Lovseth. She's also a Norwegian, and she just kicked ass. She beat Taylor Knibb by about 4 minutes, a little over 4 minutes. And then Marta Sanchez took third. So just really cool racing. Some of these times, listen to these times. Slovig Lovseth, 8 hours and 11 minutes. Taylor Knibb, 8 hours and 14 minutes. And Marta, 8 hours and 30 minutes. On the men, Christian Blumenfeld was 7 hours and 21 minutes. Martin Van Riel was 7 hours and 22 minutes. Literally 30 seconds was the split between those two. And Casper Stornes was 7 hours and 23 minutes. That is flying.
Yeah, and there was records set too, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Like fastest British racer, fastest Canadian. What
Yeah.
else?
Was
that
fastest?
Did we do
Matt
fastest Norwegian too? Did Christian beat the Norwegian record too?
Yeah, he beat the Norwegian record. Matt Hansen is the American. He beat the American record. It was just a super fast course. It doesn't look like a course that interests me, frankly. I don't really love the swim portion of it, because it's like literally really murky. You can't see your hand in front of your face. At least when I did Chattanooga, it was cloudy, but you could kind of see, you could see feet in front of you. You could see your own hand going into the water. This, from what they were reporting, you literally couldn't see your hand go into the water. It was that dark. Some reports, I don't know how accurate, was debris floating. I didn't see any in any of the coverage. That's just some of the reports. I saw an asinine report where I think it was ABC News. My wife actually saved it. She queued it today, and when I got home from the office, I saw it, and there was a racer who there was a video clip of him swimming, and he comes up, and he literally pops up to like his belly button, so you could tell he was standing up, and he's choking, and because there's a section of the canal that it's pretty shallow. He was right along the edge, so you could see that he was standing, but he choked, so he inhaled a bunch of water. I've done it. You've done it.
Oh,
Bridget,
yeah.
You're the expert swimmer. You've done it. And they were interviewing him, and he's on this, and they said, so what made this swim so treacherous? And the guy, younger guy, and he goes, and I appreciate everybody that does Ironman, that races. You know what you're signing up for with these races. Don't complain about what he's about to. He said the most treacherous part for him was the amount of people in the water.
That's
like,
that's
unprepared.
That's unprepared. That's an excuse. That's
Well, they get somebody that's inexperienced on it.
inexperience.
I mean, if somebody asked me to do an interview after a race like that, after something like that happened, I absolutely would not give an interview. It's none of my business. I don't know. I don't need to be on TV. And so it was, my wife's like, well, you didn't know what you were doing not too long ago. I'm like, yeah, that's true. But I wouldn't get on TV and say that there was too many people in the water.
And
Yeah.
there are not that many racers. Like compared to other races, Ironman races do not have a high number. Rockford was what? I mean, granted, a lot of people dropped out, and I'm sure a lot of people dropped out of Rockford because of the heat. And I'm sure a lot of people drop out before the race just because nerves, they're not prepared, they get injured, whatever.
It's
But the
sick. Yeah.
numbers for Texas this past weekend were 2,500.
Yeah.
Like that's not an excessive number of people that are racing, and they pace you. So
And,
like that's just being unprepared.
and it's all, they don't do mass starts anymore. And
No.
I did a mass start on a sprint, and I frankly like the wave starts. I think it's safer. You go in 3 to 5 at a time, jump in the water. They say that some of the reports that I said this swim is it's kind of out in the middle of a lake, and you make this turn, then you go into this canal, and the canal gets really narrow. And I don't know if you saw any of the coverage, but it looks like it's only like 20 to 30 feet wide. So it kind of bottlenecks. And the one kind of coach that I listened to, his podcast, was saying that once you get into that canal, you pretty much resign yourself to stay in the position that you are. You don't try to pass people. You're not going to get past. You're at the home stretch. You know, he's raced this course numerous times. He had a bunch of his athletes that he coaches in the race, and so you kind of defer to people like that, and you got to have race day strategy when you're going into these races. And we'll talk about the nutrition, but there was a young lady. She was a Instagram fitness influencer model from Brazil, and she drowned in the race. And the reports that I've read, and correct me if I'm wrong, because there's a lot of conflicting information, but if you guys have heard anything different, it appears that she went under like almost at the start once she got in. And there's so many people coming in that they didn't realize that she was unaccounted for. A kayaker who was also a triathlete, water support, saw her go under and kayaked over to her, jumped out of his kayak, dove down. He said in this article I read, he touched her foot. With his foot, he could feel her under the water, but he was out of breath, came back up, surfaced, dove back down. It was only 10 feet of water, and she was gone because the current had moved her. And they never found her. But this guy, he was like, it was heartbreaking because I touched her. So what happened? There's been a lot of speculation.
I would just want to stop you for a second and just
Sure.
want to say, like, we really want to send our condolences to the family and the friends. They've had some really amazing things like said about her, and just in her memory, they've posted a lot of things. So her name is Mara Flavia. So if you want to look her up, but an experienced swimmer, an experienced Ironman, a world championship qualifier. But just want to make the point that like our condolences go to her family and friends. And for some reason, and maybe because she's a female, maybe because she's younger, this one like kind of hit me a little bit hard that like this is a dangerous sport and we need to know what we're getting ourselves into, or like does something need to change, because it is typical of the injuries or the deaths that you see in the swim portion are unfortunately male and 50 plus, because they're more susceptible, right, to like heart conditions. And that's the typical like issue that, if you're going to have a problem in the swim, it's either you panic or you have an underlying condition that would cause you to have like a swim incident. But I think this one hit harder because it's like even an experienced swimmer, an experienced Ironman, like, and a young female, it was just atypical of all of, you get conditioned to like, it happens to a different group of people, or it happens to like, it's not going to happen to me. And this one was a little bit heavier. And so I just felt this one a little deeper.
I think no matter what, whether you're a strong swimmer, a weak swimmer, an average swimmer, you have to respect open water no matter what. Being an experienced swimmer, I am very scared to swim in the ocean. Like, I respect and know how incredibly dangerous it can be. So I think you have to go in with that mindset. Like, I almost drowned in the pool with a leg cramp. And I had a lane line and the wall was 10 feet from me. So like, you just have to go in with the mindset that you respect the open water no matter how great of a swimmer you are. And if you start to panic, you have to mentally go through how to calm yourself down, because you get one breath of, water in your mouth and you start choking. If you don't know how to just kind of relax yourself, it's easy. It can be very easy. So, but I do think that, the buoys, for Ironman I think some things need to change in general. I think a lot of people don't do triathlon because of the swim, because they're intimidated by the swim. And then the people who do the triathlons that are intimidated by the swim, anything can happen. It's just an accident waiting to happen. So a buoy, I think, is a definite option that Ironman should consider.
Yeah, there was some conversation on our Facebook page about this, which was it's awesome to see people engaging on that. By the way, shout out to Mary Moore and Laura Wagner. You two guys kind of started the conversation, and it was a good but brief discussion about what are some of the measures to be taken. And there's a lot of schools of thought. But before we talk about the safety stuff, I want to. I don't know if this is a thing, but one of the reports that I read is that she may have suffered from what they're calling. I don't think it's a medical term, but it's called a swimming induced pulmonary edema, and it sounds like it's induced by cold, but it can be induced by just several factors: having a wetsuit or a swim skin that's constrictive of your chest, the change in buoyancy of going from standing vertical in the open air to in the water, your body, and we've all felt it when you first jump in the lake. When we go, you feel that change. Something just changes in your equilibrium. Most of us, 99% of us, can fight through it, and you start to swim. Whether you're a long distance swimmer or a short distance swimmer, you figure it out. One of the observations that I had and just kind of the discussions was no safety measures going to help when somebody has some type of a stress when they get in the water, and if you pass out. And it sounds like that's what happened. She passed out. Perhaps a buoy would have kept her up on the top of the water, which we're going to talk about having the buoys. But it's unfortunate that when you hit the water, if you pass out, just hope that somebody can get to you, or that you can flip over and get onto your back, because if you're in a wetsuit, you're going to float. And that's why I'm never going to swim without a wetsuit on, but because I am that over 50 age group that tends to have those cardiac.
Now, but would you feel more confident though if you had a buoy and if you could not wear a wetsuit? Would you feel more confident with the buoy?
Well, yes and no. So you guys have kind of been with me on my whole swim journey. When I went out to the quarry a couple times, 100% solo, and that was like a big thing.
See, for me, like being an experienced swimmer, that would be scary for me. Like even myself, it would be scary.
Well, and I forced my way through it, so I knew that I had the flotation of the wetsuit. That was number one. I knew I had the buoy, but I started doing some swims with just short swims without the buoy, because I knew I had to race without the buoy. And I'm glad that I did that a few times. Didn't do it a lot because I was very dependent on just everything that would keep me above the water. And when I was down in Chattanooga and I jumped in, none of us here knew how that swim was going to go. I very easily could have been dragged off on a jet ski and they said, no, you're done, you're not swimming. Or I end up going from kayak to kayak to kayak and then missing the cutoff. But things lined up for me that day. And it was a huge confidence booster that I put my face in the water and I started swimming nice and slow, and just tried to stick with the training. And I was without the buoy, and there was a couple times where I was getting kind of tired. You get your 2.4 miles, you need to take a break every once in a while. I think I read a crazy statistic, only like 6% of triathletes complete a full Ironman swim nonstop.
That's crazy.
So,
which is less than 10 people. Like there's only 25. There's only 25.
Even some of the pros stop. They stop. Mm-hmm. They get their bearings. They kind of get off course. They kind of readjust. So all of us out there, there's no shame in stopping, floating. And I got in like 1,000 yards, and I flipped to my back, and I just floated. And I looked up at the sky, and it was funny. I was telling you guys, I couldn't keep straight downstream. So every time I would kind of turn sideways, and then I start swimming, I'm like, fuck, I'm going the wrong way. then you gotta kind of get readjusted. But so to answer your question, I feel more comfortable without the buoy in an Ironman swim.
Yeah.
Than I did before. When I did Rockford, I wish I would have had the buoy.
Yeah. I think like the answer to this entire thing is, you like make a division. Like if you have a buoy, you go in a group. If you don't want a buoy, you start in a different group. Give people the option. And then I honestly, I feel like the buoy like almost slows you down. So if you're a good swimmer, you're not dragging anything behind you and you feel confident about it. But if you need it and it's for mental, let people use it.
Just
It's
like a wetsuit optional,
it's not gonna
optional section.
not gonna hurt anybody.
If you think about the amount of races, so I think last year in the U.S., I think there was 2 swimming deaths. There was one in Muncie, and I can't recall. I think there was 2, and both were a cardiac event. So guys my age had a heart attack, and caveat this whole conversation: we don't know what caused this young lady's distress. It could have been a pre-existing. I read a report where her friends and family said that she was sick.
Yeah.
And she had the flu, and they were telling her that she should probably back off and not do the swim or not do the race. Who knows? I don't want to speculate. None of my business. I do wish that for education that there was some concise, this is what happened. And I know it's a privacy thing with the families, but for other athletes that are doing Ironman that want to be safe and want to be healthy and want to survive a swim, this is what happened to this young lady. So you can take precautions. Like the Muncie last year, the guy was, I think he was 48 or 49 years old. And he was a doctor, family practitioner from St. Louis who drove to Muncie, did this Ironman, got halfway through the swim, and he had a heart attack and died instantly. They came out with that. So that kind of, get yourself checked before you race. Make sure you're healthy enough to race. I do it. I go to my doctor, and sometimes I over exaggerate things, that like getting penicillin or antibiotics before a swim, just so I don't get sick because you drink a half a lake when you're swimming. But I think get yourself checked, and the older you get, the more important this is. For younger swimmers, younger athletes, I don't think it's as important. But when you're in your 40s and 50s, you should be seeing a doctor, have your heart checked, make sure that you don't have blockages.
I actually think I'm going to stop you there. I think it is just as important, because I actually had heart surgery in high school. So if the signs are there, I don't think it matters the age. I think there is a demographic that's definitely more at risk. But if there's something that you're concerned about, go and ask a question. It can't hurt. Like, the doctors are there to support you, and that's what their job is to make sure that you're healthy. So go. But if we're looking at the stats too, I think it's something like 80% of the triathlon deaths are in the swim portion. And in my head, that to me means like you're not, like, you use more energy and effort on the bike and the run. Like, you are gassed by the run, you're putting all of your energy effort into the bike, right? Like, that's the hardest, longest. And so what the swim deaths to me mean, like, we really need to train our mental as much as we're training our physical, because a lot of times people jump in the water and that panic raises your heart rate right away. I have done a lot of things to be a calm person or to work through a stressful situation. So as much as I don't think that I was very prepared for what it was going to be like jumping in the water in my first triathlon, like even just being equipped with skills to be able to calm my nervous system and then move on, even if it's shouting to Bridget, I'm fine, this is amazing. Trying to convince me and her that everything is good. I think it's just as important to understand mentally what you're going into, because your mental state directly affects your physical state. And the swim is not, like, especially on a half Ironman, like, of course, I mean, let's be real though, like 1.2 miles is nothing to sneeze at, but it's not, you're going, or with the full Ironman, you're not racing. You're not doing, we're not racing Michael Phelps in a short distance, anything. Our heart rates should not be that high. So I think that we need to have more mental preparedness before we get into races like this. Or is it like skydiving, where you're like, man, this is like, I'm doing it because the risk is a little crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that. And you guys know that I'm kind of a geek when it comes to, listening to different podcasts and training, so training theory. The Tower 26 guys, Jerry Rodriguez and Jim Lubinsky, I listen to all their podcasts. They really help me just as much as Brenton Ford with effortless swimming. And I think Brenton, to some extent, has kind of the same philosophy. But these two guys, they they're serious triathlon focused swim coaches. Jim Lubinsky is a former pro hockey player, retired from pro hockey, became a pro triathlete, and is still a card carrying pro triathlete. But actually now he's an elite age grouper. So he's placed in several of the races, multi Kona qualifier.
He's got some street cred.
They do, and they have some really good programming for their athletes, and they train for exactly what you're talking about, and they all train. Tower 26 is a station in the Pacific Ocean in Southern California, and that's where they meet. They do all their open water swims out in the Pacific Ocean, and they do what they call deck ups. You know, you take out at race pace, because what do we all do? You jump in and you start swimming hard. What you're supposed to do is you jump in and start swimming slow. And if you feel like you're swimming too slow, slow down even more. That's what Brenton Ford's philosophy is.
Yep.
So that you don't get that heart rate up. But they train for this heart rate. They do what's called deck ups. So they'll go and they'll do a 50 sprint, get out of the pool, run a lap around the pool, back in, and another 50 sprint. And then they cool down. They do these crazy in and out workouts, because it gets you go from being horizontal to vertical, get your heart rate up, bring your heart rate down. And I believe that there's something to that. And I don't know if I'm crazy enough to get into the full workouts that they do, but I don't think I'm winning anything in my age group. But
I think we should do one at the quarry. Like, it's worth a try.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, they got some cool. I'll send you guys one of their podcasts. You guys will enjoy it. But I think that you're right, April. When you get into a race situation, you the nerves are up. Your heart rate's already up, standing in line to jump in the water. Then you jump in the water and you're like, oh shit, I'm in the water.
Yeah.
I got to start swimming. And then you feel like Dory from Nemo. Just keep swimming. And there's a lot of different things that you need to do to calm your mind. You got to have a plan.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly to what you were saying too, Chad. Like, I don't think your ability changed from Rockford, where you had an awful swim, to Chattanooga, where you had the same time and did double the distance. I don't think anything in your ability changed. I think your mindset and how mentally prepared you were for that swim were totally different. And I think that's why you saw the success that you did.
And I am so excited to see how you guys do in Rockford this year. I cannot wait.
We're going to kill. If only they can make that swim a little bit longer, because I feel like that's my strongest right now, and make the bike a little shorter, maybe.
Yeah,
no, you're going to kill it on the bike, everything.
But April, you just nailed it. You got 3 disciplines, and your whole goal needs to be to conserve as much energy for that run so that you can finish the race strong. And that's why the long and slow is the method for the swim. And this is crazy. Swimming is so counterintuitive to me anyway. But Bridget, you pointed this out in one of the swim workouts last weekend. Chuck was having you guys count your strokes. I wasn't there. Was having you count your strokes from one lap. I don't remember, without calling anybody out, I don't remember what yours were. I think it was like 17 or 18 strokes.
Yep.
That's like great. From what Val tells me, and she messes with me a lot, by the way, but Val tells me anything under 20 is really good. I don't think I'm under 20, but
I've heard Chuck say that too. So that's good advice.
Okay. All right.
So anyway, Bridget, she's got a nice stroke anyway, and I don't remember what the workout was, but then you said Nancy was in the lane next to you, and she was doing like 13 or 14 and just like long and slow, and she's going faster. She's
faster.
Strokes.
Yep. And I talked to her. I was like, how many, like, I'm thinking, okay, I am literally trying to glide and rotate as much as possible, and I'm hitting 17 or 18 strokes. And then I say to Nancy, how are you doing? She's like 13 or 14. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, how are you doing that? And she's like, it's all in the hip rotation. It's all in the shoulder and the hip rotation, and, in gliding. But, the object of it was to, obviously to get faster, and to reduce your number of strokes, and to get faster. Like, when you start trying to swim harder, your arms go faster, so you're doing more strokes. It was an interesting drill. It was a great drill to do, to kind of give you perspective and like forcing yourself to long and glide, but also work on your turnover at the same time. It was interesting. Yeah, Nancy was killing it. And I was like, how are you doing that? So it's all in the hips.
Yeah, I'm working hard on that rotation. And,
Yep.
Taz did that evaluation for me, which was awesome, and I have noticed a little bit of an improvement in just my overall time and how I feel at the end of a swim. But the one drill that they gave me is that tricep extension drill, and it's really hard. I do it with flippers and a snorkel, and you kind of hold one arm out Superman style, and the other arm, it literally goes straight down from your hip, and you're like pushing that one arm, and you do one length that way, one length the other way with very little kick. So you're using that. It's all the pull, and it's
Tricep. Yep.
you guys were telling me that you got to finish and you got to get all the way through that water, and just noticing that little bit you're losing if you pull up short like I was doing, and I probably still do it a lot, but you're losing like 6 inches to 12 inches of water that you're pushing, and that's all part of the glide and the hip rotation, and so
Yep.
that's what I mean about counterintuitive. It's you got to go slow to go fast.
Correct. And you got to practice the drills until they become second nature, because then that's when you're going to start improving.
Yeah. And it's funny, I didn't mean for this to connect with the conversation that we're having, but it's funny because in my training right now, I feel like I'm more mentally working out than I am physically, because the workouts are hard and they're getting increasingly hard, of course, but I'm doing more of that. And Chuck says this all the time, and I love it, because then, I just keep saying it. He's like, it's not meant to feel good. Like a sprint is not meant to feel good. You're not going to feel good doing it. It's going to hurt. It's going to burn your lungs. It's going to burn your muscles. But
Is that why the state meet was horrible and I felt like I was going to die every single race?
That means you did incredible. You did So like I did that bike FTP test today, and I was like, it is not meant to feel good. I am meant to, our brain wants to be comfortable. And if we're not comfortable, then it freaks out and it's like raises your heart rate or does whatever. You just have to control that. And you have to tell yourself, like, this is a mental game as much as it is a physical game. Or Bridget, how many times do we try to do that drill where, we take 1 breath, 2 breath, or 3 breath, like across the full 25? That is 100% a mental game on if you can make it that whole length, because you can hold your breath for 30 seconds. It's not that serious. Can you mentally hold your breath for 30 seconds?
It's calming yourself and your mind down and being uncomfortable and not panicking. That's how you do a whole length without a breath.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely have a weak mind when it comes to that.
Well, we'll start working on your mind at the next practice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. But I feel like that's what I'm doing a lot of my training right now, is like, because it's getting harder, that it's just, I have to remember, this is just getting mentally harder. My body can handle this.
Nice. Yeah. I almost think that for that FTP test, that I want to try it someday blind. I start the test, cover the TV with a towel so you can't see. Because here's what I do, and I'm sure a lot of people do it. We're not benchmarking or testing for the benefit of anybody else but yourself. So it's you against the bike and you against the Zwift machine or whatever. If you do it outside, I'm a big fan of doing the ramp test on Zwift or the Zwift FTP test, because it's a better measure, I think. But here's what I find myself doing, and I did it a little bit tonight. I know it goes up in 20-watt increments, and I know what I need to hit to keep my FTP where it was. So I know what I need to hit to increase it by 10 or 20 or 30, whatever. And you can do the math. And I think the calculation is whatever the number you hit for a full minute, it's 75% of that is your FTP. So I know what I want to hit as far as a number goes. So I get into like the last little segments where I know I'm going to be blown up here shortly. Each are 1 minute increments. And I'm telling myself in my head, all right, I got 4 more minutes right. I can ride for 4 more minutes. When in reality, I probably can go another 6 to 8 more minutes if I didn't know where I exactly was, because that Zwift machine is tricking your mind. You know, okay, I'll be satisfied if I just go up a little bit, if my FTP improves a little bit. And I'd be interested to see, and maybe I'll do it the next time. Maybe we'll do an FTP together, do it a blind test.
I like that.
Yeah.
Start the screen and just go until you can't pedal anymore. And I wonder what the results are going to be.
That's
That's
so funny
awesome.
because there was a study. Now I'm gonna have to Google it. I'll find a link, put it in the show notes. But there was a study on runners that if they knew what their distance was at a certain point during that run, they started getting gassed and they started like looking for that finish line. Another group of runners were not told the distance that they were going to run. They were just said, let's go out and run. They had a longer run. They felt better during the run. They were gassed much later when they were out there versus a group that knew what their finish line was because you're right.
All mental.
It's all mental.
Yeah, and that's a philosophy too that for runners there's a workout called fartleks, and it's a structured workout, and it's a crazy name.
What? I'm sorry. What is the name of it
Fartlek.
again? Fart, like
Fartlek.
FARTLICK.
Yeah,
Okay.
LECK, I think it is.
Okay. Very
Or
different.
LEK. Fartleks. I think it's Swedish, Norwegian, one of those. But
Okay.
it's an actual thing, so you can look that up. But you literally will go say, okay, I'm going to go and I'm not going to have any set distance. I'm going to run for time, and I'm going to adjust my my speed as I run, and I'm going to run to that pole that I can see, and then you sprint to the pole for however long that is, and that's your workout. And you find another landmark, and then you sprint, and you can do like a 2-minute increment. You can structure it, but I think that the structure sometimes it gets us in that mindset that, okay, I know exactly what I've got to do today. I'm going to go, I'm doing a interval training run, and I've got 2-minute sprints at zone 4. I know what that is. And I just need to get through that to survive. And then I can jog home for the rest of my route. And I know that route, I know how long it's going to take. I know what route I'm going to take. And I think it's really easy to fall into that trap. And I think the unpredictable workout is way more beneficial for endurance athletes because a race is unpredictable. You're going to have wind, you're going to have rain, you're going to have heat, you're going to have all different kinds of things that you should be training for, but you need to be ready for any one or all of them. And I think that the different training philosophies I'm guilty of the structured workout. I love the structured workout. I set my bike computer and I'll do the interval workout to the T. And I think sometimes it's not building the mental toughness in the way that we should be focused on our mental toughness.
Love it.
And maybe Chad always says nutrition is the 4th discipline, maybe add a 5th.
Yeah.
So many events.
Well, that's a good segue because I've had a couple of questions. We this is a community, and we ask each other what we do for different elements of our training, and nutrition's been coming up a lot. And I'm not a nutritionist, but I've really tried to experiment with different things, and I think that we all need to experiment because no one product is going to work for everybody. Bridget doesn't like the salt from Element, but I swear by Element. April, I think you like Element too, and we're Element insiders. We got the little free gift that they just sent with their new flavors, which is you can't buy the iced tea flavoring, which I tried. I bought the other one, the pink lemonade, but the iced tea flavor, you can't buy that yet.
No, it's secret. It's
why
still a
give
secret.
why give me the test sample? But anyway,
to make us feel special.
I think that the nutrition side is important, and it's not just race day nutrition, it's overall nutrition. We make fun of Grace a lot. Grace has a very high metabolism. She can eat whatever she wants, and she stays 110 pounds, and she can eat pasta for 4 meals a day. None of us can do that. And she loves Doritos. She talks about how she eats Doritos after her workouts.
Doritos and Tootsie Rolls.
Yeah, that's gross, but
we do not recommend that as your
nutrition
plan.
But we've all tried to really dial in, the three of us, our nutrition with the tools that are out there. Lumen is a really good tool for us. It tells you your macros, and it tells you what you should be eating based on your workout load. And I think that that's all beneficial. But at the end of the day, you got to figure out what nutrition works for you. And some people are more tolerant to carbohydrates, where you can eat more carbs. I'm not one of those people, although as an endurance athlete, carbohydrates is what you need on race day. So I've formulated a balance for myself where I moderate my carbohydrates in my daily intake of food, and I save my carbohydrates for supplementation during the workouts, whether it's running or riding, in the form of powders and gels and that kind of thing. That seemed to work for me. I've had less GI distress since I've kind of pulled back on carbohydrates in the foods that I eat, and really I call it, spending the chits on the carbohydrates when you're working out, because I try to intake about 100 grams of carbohydrates an hour, and for my body size, that seems to work for me. I've experimented, and I started at 60, and I cramped up real bad in a race, and didn't, so I had to up, and it's kind of trial and error. And I was giving somebody some advice the other night at swim, and I told him just start at 60 and just play with it. If you feel good, go to 70. If you feel good, go to 80. More than 100, the pros are over 100, 120, 150, 160. Christian Blumenfeld, I think, is like 180 on his carbohydrates per hour.
My body's not that efficient.
I would puke.
I also would rather eat that in pasta than in freaking gels. So
I can do without the pasta. I think that for me, protein has been the game changer. I've really focused on more protein. I try to intake almost double the recommended daily allowance of protein, and I think it's helped with my muscle fatigue. It's helped with just how I feel and mental acuity, the whole 9 yards. The recommended daily allowance for protein is 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight. So you have to do some math to get to that number individually. For me, roughly, that's about 165 grams of protein a day is what the government says I should be taking in. I'm up probably around the 200 mark. And I do that through a variety of different ways. Bridget actually gave me an awesome recipe from the swim meet. She had a really easy mix of Greek yogurt, chia seeds, these little salty, crunchy edamame beans, and strawberries, and mixed it all up. And I've been living by that. Yeah, I gave
Awesome.
Linda my order list, and she found that Target has those edamame seeds.
Yeah, they do have them. Yeah,
they got the big bags too. So
nice.
But that's a really dynamic protein powered snack that you can have. All those things are good for you. I think there's about 30 grams of carb in that mix. So, I generally, my carbohydrate intake is only between 100 and 140 grams a day, even with workouts. On big long rides, long runs, I'm obviously significantly higher than that. The Lumen tells you exactly where you should be with your carbs. So we've talked about Lumen a lot, and I didn't want to digress into that, but I think nutrition is the fourth discipline, and we're all experimenting. I recommend Lumen because it really gives you an awareness of what you're taking in, what your body's doing, what your body's burning. I think that there's more to come on that. I think we can do a whole podcast on nutrition, and maybe we will, with the different types of powders and mixes that we take. But what do you guys have on nutrition? I know, April, you're loving Lumen, and Bridget, we all talk about it. I know you guys are both digging it.
Yep.
Are you, Bridget?
Yeah, actually, I am.
She's like, yep, we really are.
Yep, it's great. It's great when they tell me I can have 70 carbs today,
That's one bagel.
That's one bagel. I don't even look at a bagel because it's not even, it's.
No, I really like it. And I think it's been super helpful to figure out, because I used to have a lot of GI distress, especially when I was running. I'm so sorry if you are my neighbor. I apologize profusely.
I don't think you should mention that.
I've noticed a few extra clean up after your dog signs in my neighborhood. I sincerely apologize. But I did notice my fat intake was higher than it should be, which is that's going to cause some issues, right? And then making sure that I'm hitting my protein instead of doing so many carbs. So it really has transitioned to how I eat. And I'm super lucky that my kids and my husband will eat just what I eat. They're easy. So I'm not making additional meals just for myself, which is amazing. Sometimes they don't like what I make, but I did make a pretty sweet pita, what is it called? I don't know, like tzatziki sauce that everybody had seconds. So win in my book because I'm a terrible cook.
Love it.
Cool.
I know, right? But I do really love the lumen, but I'm really bad with the nutrition piece of it because I'm like during activity, I mean, like I figured out like the daily breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but during something, I am really bad about making sure that I take things before I start getting hungry or making sure that I'm pacing it out correctly. I do a really bad job of, trying to do it how I feel and not necessarily like regimented, which I probably should get better at. So I think we should have a whole nother episode or topic on it because I gotta figure this out if I'm gonna do 140 miles. You can
Yep.
you can
That's right.
get by at 70 miles. Like I could eat some waffles on that bike at
Barely.
70 miles, like, and you'll be fine. But I can't screw up 140 miles. Like
Yeah, there's a lot there, a lot we can talk about on nutrition. So we will definitely have a future podcast with nutrition focus. Kind of a more fun subject for me is not swimming, but it's on the bike. And let's talk about that Slow Twitch article. It was an article about.
Didn't Curry send this to you? Who sent this to you?
Curry sent this to me. Yes.
That's so funny because we were just talking about all these things on our ride at the end of last week. So that's funny that he sent you this article. He must be like listening. He wasn't there, but he must be listening somehow.
Yeah, he's well, the Curry's really been into technical side of the biking, and he did this amazing trip. He was on a work trip actually in Utah, and he got to spend some time with the CEO from Slow Twitch, and he did a ride with them. Got to ride his bike. This guy tests equipment and just really cool stuff. So I got a subscription to Slow Twitch Plus, and so I get all the articles, and there's a lot of good stuff there. And they were in a little bit of a controversy a couple weeks ago after, I think it was Oceanside or Little Elm. I forget, one of the 70.3s, where I think it was Oceanside, where several of the age group women beat pro women.
Oh, yeah.
And there was like this big scandal, and the pros were all upset because he wrote this article. I think it was just to highlight the accomplishments of the non-pro women.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see how they were upset because they work hard to get their pro card.
Christian though was shuffling around with some age grouper at Texas this weekend too. So those elite runners they're very lovely. The triathlon groups are very lovely, but please don't discredit us age groupers.
Well, it was also funny that Curry pointed out that Curry competed in the, I forget what year, I think it was 2020, 2019, 70.3 World Championships in St. George's, Utah. And he actually beat Christian Blumenfeld in that race because Christian Blumenfeld DNF'd, and I think he flatted out and couldn't finish the bike ride. But Curry's like, but I still beat him.
Yeah, every athlete has their day.
Yep. So nod to Curry for sending the article along. But the article's about Aero gains, and we all try to stay Aero as much as possible, or we should. Depends on the course. But this article really gives you some good quality information, and I made April read it, so I'll shut up here in a second, but I'd like to get your take on it because we were just talking about this on the bike. But talks about the aerodynamic positioning on the bike and why you're holding Aero and why you should hold Aero. And then there's basically three different positions that he references: the climbing position, or the quote, "I'm wasted, get me to the finish line," because that means you're sitting up and you're not Aero. That he says you should sustain Aero for 80% of the event. And that's hard to do. Anybody that does this sport knows how hard that is. And kind of the tips and tricks to do that, and just maximizing your body line and the symmetry. So those are kind of the three positions. And then the two drills that he gives you are the shoulder shrug drill, where you shrug your shoulders and get your shoulders up by your ears. And then there's some illustrations there. And then the turtle, he calls it. I think he could have come up with a better name than turtle, but and there's illustrations that show kind of what that means, and they're kind of self-explanatory, but I think really helpful information. There's a lot of testing that's done on Aero and the benefits, but if you can gain 30 to 40 watts of speed and less effort, that's huge for for a 112-mile bike race. So yeah, let's talk about it. So April, what was your kind of takeaways after reading the article? Because you're relatively new to biking, and we were talking about, I think a couple times on our ride, I think you asked, so when we're going uphill, should I stay Aero or should I pop up? And you remember what I said?
Stay Aero as long as you can.
Stay Aero as long as you can. And once you get comfortable in Aero, you can stay Aero. I think that the challenge is the bike. If you don't have the right bike, if the bike isn't fit properly for you, it's going to be really hard to stay Aero. And my old bike, which was a new bike when I bought it, and I only had it for a year, I could not stay Aero on it. It was not comfortable. Just something about it didn't fit. Got my new bike, and I can literally lay down in Aero and stay there the whole ride. And I just feel so much more comfortable. No hip distress, no glutes, no lower back. Everything feels good. And so the bike has a lot to do with it. But you can still condition yourself with the tools that you have and the bike that you have. So yeah, floor is yours.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting, and the article told me I was on the right track, and then B, like, I think, gave more context, more information, more drills for what I'm working on, which I thought were really helpful. So even on the bike we were talking about, I get my most distress in my shoulders, and I'm not quite sure, like, I can't get my shoulder positioning right yet. Aero feels good, feels much better than it was last summer, and I'm in it much longer. I think that's also attributed to being on the trainer for so long too, and training so much in Aero on the trainer has made it really helpful. But the shoulder positioning and the head positioning, which is a couple of the drills in this article and the graphics were super, super helpful. So I'm excited to get back on and work on that. He also says in like the first couple, first couple paragraphs of the article that like beginners can see up to a 30 watt increase. And I'm like, I just gained 30 watts. Like, let's go. All right, worlds, here I come. Give me another 30 watts. That would be amazing.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
But I thought it was great. Like, and I also am working on, like, I still do strength training outside of my endurance training, and just making sure that, I think of workouts for my legs for my run and for my bike, and my upper body typically for the swim. But I think you need to train your upper body just as much for the bike because of the positioning that you're in and making sure that you're strong enough to hold that.
Yep. Back and neck are just as important.
Mm-hmm.
Shoulders.
Yeah, I think one of the comments is that, like, the kiss of death on the bike, and this happens probably more on the trainer. You get kind of lazy, is when you drop that head,
Yep.
Go head down. Out on the road, it's a little more difficult because you drop that head and you can't see the road. But you get that kind of you hunch, and you can definitely get some body fatigue where you don't need it. And if you really focus on good body position, building a strong core, which we're all guilty of probably not paying enough attention to core exercises. But I think that if you pay attention to those types of things, that you'll see significant gains on the bike, and that'll help you come off the bike fresh for your run, or as fresh as you can be after a long 56 mile or 112 mile bike.
Yeah, and enjoy it a lot more, because if you're not enjoying yourself, then what are we doing here, man?
Yeah. I will tell you that April, by about mile 100, you won't be enjoying it.
It's not meant to feel good.
It's pretty miserable.
It's meant to be painful.
You just can't wait to get that. You're like, 12 more miles. Shit.
It's what you signed up for.
I can't wait to run a marathon now.
I will tell you that like the swim and the bike for the full Ironman does not freak me out as much as the full 26.2 miles does. For some reason, that one just, I don't know.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Feel a little less prepared for. So I got to work on that mental training for my run.
You're training. Well, did you ever think at the start of the season that you'd be looking at Rockford as just a training day, Brick?
No,
right?
Absolutely.
Crazy.
That was gonna be the party for the summer, and now, now we have an
life throws curveballs at us. Bridget's having ankle surgery again. We're gonna secure a moped for run and ride support for our training rides for her.
Yes,
nice. I cannot wait.
Yeah. Because we're gonna have to do Rockford, and then we're gonna have to do Madison too. So
yep.
Get your moped license.
It's gonna be fun. I think she's get a pass. I don't think she needs a moped license.
I don't know. We'll be in a different state. We got to make sure.
Yeah.
cover our bases.
Yeah.
So yeah, April, can we post this article on Instagram so people can see it? I think that'd be a
Yeah.
good thing.
Yeah. Post it in the show notes, and then we'll post it on Instagram too, so everybody can see it. It's a really quick read. It's not going to take up a lot of time. I just thought it was super helpful of Curry to send it over, and very timely because we're getting outside, and I get really lazy on my trainer because I don't need to look forward. I'm not moving anywhere. So head positioning didn't matter as much until, I did a 3.5 hour ride last weekend, and I was like, I can't keep my head up anymore. Like I'm doing something wrong. So I thought it was super helpful.
But think about 2 weeks before that, we did a 3.5 hour ride, and think about how much easier the second one was because it went by a lot quicker for me.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And I think just each ride, I'm getting smarter with the technical pieces too of riding and cycling, and that's making it more helpful. I also think it's probably helpful that now I know how to like work some of my own gear, and I can hook up my bike computer, and I don't have, we're not doing a 1 hour setup before we go ride, just a 30-minute setup before we go ride, and a 15-minute, play with the puppy.
Yeah. And then the first 5-minute tip over.
Yeah. I got up much quicker from this one than last one.
I think, can I kind of quote how that went?
Yeah.
You kind of pulled up next to me, and something that was wrong with your bike computer, and you're like, can you look at this? This isn't working. And all of a sudden I hear, and then, damn it, why does this keep happening?
Again.
So that was funny.
Yeah. But my bike handling, if I am moving fast, my bike handling is really good. There are a couple times I hit that gravel shoulder and popped right back on the road. I just can't do it at a slow pace.
Yeah.
Then I will land on the...
Well, this was good. Talked about a lot, and now we give it a wrap.
All right. Be safe out there, everybody.
Be safe. Yes.
Know your limits.
Train hard. Train your mind. Train your body. Train your nutrition.
And train with your people.
That's right. Train with your friends.
Yep. When we've got a couple of group, I've literally, as I sit here, I got a text asking if we're going to be doing group rides on the weekends. So look for that, guys. We'll have, by the time this hits the air, we'll probably have had one by then, but we're going to start trying to do regular group rides, and some or all of us will be on each one and come out and join us. By the time this hits the air, our Zoot store will have closed, and we'll have our new tri-kits on the way. And we're super excited about those. But yeah, there's a lot to come. And thank you guys all for your support. A couple other quick little show notes I wanted to talk about, if you guys don't mind. Unscripted, unprepared. 2 things that kind of group events that we've been kicking around. A friend of mine has a MMA gym, and it's JBMA in New Lenox. Joe Moraga, he's the baddest of badasses. He has agreed to do a jiu-jitsu for triathletes weekend.
Can't wait.
I don't know how triathlon jiu-jitsu is different from regular jiu-jitsu, but I am in.
Yeah, we just need to be a little bit more careful because we have to actually do triathlon and not get hurt.
Don't hurt my knees or ankles.
Like, can he teach us how to like roll off the bike properly, or if you fall? Yeah,
I'll bring my bike so he can help me.
Proper throat punch, but we'll get to that.
Yes, absolutely.
So, and the other one, just the other night, we were talking about core exercises, and Trisha listens to the show, and she's awesome. She's really jumped into the master swimming and intrigued by triathlon. She's coming off a knee surgery, so hopefully next season she'll be ready to do some triathlons with us. But Trisha is a Pilates instructor, and I'm going to work on her to do a Pilates for triathletes.
Oh, awesome.
That would be cool. Yes,
I didn't know about that. That's awesome.
A couple little group things that we're trying to pull together here. So keep your eyes open on the Facebook page. Events, we'll post everything. Let's come on out and have fun with us this summer. It's going to be a good, hot, awesome training summer.
Yeah, the more the merrier. Let's do it.
A party.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
see you guys next time.
We will sign off. Thanks, everybody.
So that's a wrap on today's episode of Manhattan Tri Club Leading from the Front. If you made it this far, amazing. You're officially one of us now, slightly unhinged, mildly obsessed, and probably thinking about your next workout. If you liked our episode, do us a favor, follow, subscribe, download, all the things. Send this to your training buddy who needs to hear this, or the one who definitely did everything we just said not to, kind of like Chad. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube, and don't forget to follow along on Instagram and Facebook. All the things are at Manhattan Tri Club. You can find us there for workouts, chaos, and whatever we're getting ourselves into next. And hey, if you see us at a race, a group run, or just out on the roads, definitely come by and say hi. We're the ones having the most fun and probably talking about triathlon a little bit too much. So until next time, keep showing up, keep pushing forward, and as always, lead from the front.